Well, welcome to the Japanese Canadian Family History Program. My name is Kevin Okabe. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Japanese Canadians. And today I'm joined by Emily and Pat, and I'll maybe let them do their introductions while we wait for other people to join. Emily?
Hi everyone. My name is Emily Coppola. I am a second year student at McMaster University located in Hamilton, but I'm originally from Mississauga, Ontario. I'm currently working for the NAJC as the Organization and Methods Researcher and have a strong interest in research in the Japanese Canadian community. I'm Yonsei and Japanese on my mother's side. My grandparents were interned in Tashmi and Lemon Creek, respectively, and relocated from the West Coast to Hamilton post-war. So throughout my academic career, I've actively engaged in projects aimed at promoting the accurate teaching of Japanese Canadian history in schools, and I've recently conducted research focused on Japanese Canadian demographics this past summer. So passing it on to Pat.
Thanks, Emily. Welcome, everyone. We are encouraged that you are keen to explore your Japanese Canadian heritage. I am Pat Jetty, located in Calgary, but originally from Winnipeg. I have volunteered for a variety of Japanese Canadian projects. I'm a Sansei born post-Second World War. My paternal grandparents and parents were registered, removed, and relocated from the West Coast to the BC interior, and finally journeyed to a sugar beet farm in Manitoba. My older brothers were both born in internment camp. I am Yonsei on my maternal side, as my mother's grandparents were already residing in Canada prior to 1900. Just to be clear, I'm not a professional researcher in French Canadian heritage for a while. I begin. Now many of these items restricted and easy.
We had some bandwidth issues there, looks like. But anyways, why don't you proceed with the next slide there? That will
Okay.
clear up.
All right. So, okay. So, we would like to acknowledge that I'm coming from the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot Nations.
Yeah, and then Pat and I are both located in Calgary, so we're acknowledge that we're on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Tsuut'ina First Nations, as well as the Stoney Nakoda Nations, as well as Métis Nation Region 3, and all the people that make their homes in Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. And also, we respect and have gratitude for the Indigenous peoples who have had traditional stewards of the lands and the waters where we work and live. So we definitely appreciate and recognize the lands that we're currently presenting from. And right, let's start the presentation then. Next slide. So who we are, we're the National Association of Japanese Canadians, probably most recognized for leading the charge to achieve the Japanese Canadian Redress Agreement in 1988. More recently, we also were successful in getting a redress agreement with the BC government a few years ago. And I think many people have been recipients of that award. And I think that's also spurred a lot of interest in people pursuing their history. And I think there's some funding that was made available through the Legacies Foundation, and we do appreciate that. And so we're here today to provide a little bit of an intro about some of the history, where you can find some of this stuff. And it'll be kind of a short presentation. We'll show you what Pat has found as she's done her search about her family history. And at the end, we'll have hopefully a lot of time for any open-ended questions or any comments that you might have. We're basically just kicking this program off, and we are looking to have informational sessions every 2 months or so going forward, and also sharing the resources that we've come across, as well as the organizations that have been working on this across Canada, and giving a spotlight to some of the work that they've been doing and some of the reference materials that may be of interest to all of you. All right, next slide then, Emily.
Hey, so I'll just go briefly over why this program was developed. So this project was developed in response to the growing interest among Japanese Canadians in exploring their ancestral roots, both in Canada and in Japan. Throughout the various courses and sessions, we are hoping to provide information and resources pertaining to the two different categories of Japanese Canadian research. So just to go over those two categories, we'll have the first as Japanese family history. So this would involve the history and ancestral roots of Japanese Canadians in Japan and the resources dedicated to discovering the hometown of ancestors who arrived in Canada before the World Wars. And the second category being Japanese Canadian history, which would be the resources regarding the impacts of the First and Second World Wars on Japanese Canadian communities in Canada. So that would be, for example, internment. And throughout the length of this program, we hope to provide important information on both of these topics, and we'll go into further detail explaining the differences between the resources under both fields as the program progresses.
Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about the Koseki record, which is a official record um, of a Japanese family register. Let me just jump to something that I did find explaining that. So one of our partners at Densho, which is based in the United States, have created this little bit of a summary of what a Koseki record is. And basically, it is an official record in the Japanese government of citizens. It records a household, and it records things like the birth, the death, marriages, divorces, and anyone on the Koseki itself is considered a citizen. So it's also, I've heard it used kind of interchangeably to refer to just Japanese family records necessarily, but the official Koseki is a record of citizenship. Um, and it doesn't really have like this more modern versions that are pretty limited in what they have in terms of information, but most often you'll find information about your parents. If you have your own Koseki, or if your parents have a Koseki, then there's information about their parents. There may be some sibling references as well, but um, the government is pretty restrictive in how they distribute that information because they're really concerned about privacy. So, a key aspect of trying to obtain one of these is to really find out who in your family, where they came from, I guess, the village that they've come from, and kind of establishing your link to that person. And it should be kind of like a direct, like grandfather, grandparents, great grandparents, or something like that, where there's a direct line that connects you to that person. If you're trying to look for aunts or uncles or those type of things, those are probably a little bit more difficult to get. And I don't know if you can get them if you don't have a direct line of a relationship to those people. Um, so the basic information, like Pat will show you a couple of examples of those ones. You'll see kind of the new modern version, which is nicely typed, but less information. And then some of the older ones, which are handwritten. And they're all in Japanese, obviously. Um, and then there's a little definition of what the different types of documents are. But suffice to say that for most people, there's a record in Japan of where your family came from, where they were living. The trick is to try to find out where that information is. And the key to that is to really understand who came across from Japan and where they were living when they left. That village is very important. Let me just if you can put that presentation back up there, Emily, I think maybe Pat will just talk to you a little bit about what she's found in her research.
Yes, I have 3 different samples of Koseki. This one that's on the screen is a very modern digitized one. It's all, obviously done on the computer and everything and easily use, which I can't. Is nice and neat, and it was an original copy. And as Kevin was saying, they really want your hometown if you have it. But over the years, as the villages get bigger and bigger, the names change. So sometimes it's hard to find the original village. So, and the next one, please, Emily. So this is another Koseki I got in Japanese, and it's very nicely printed out and handwritten. And this is an original I received. And the fellow who translated it did it in flowchart style, and he was a researcher from Japan. The Nikkei Museum and Cultural Center provided me with the researcher contact in Japan at the time. This is several years ago. And I required a power of attorney to access the town hall. And they really wanted the Japan home address, which is pretty hard to find because in a lot of documents, they don't have a full address. That they might village name or just the prefecture, and that's all. So, but I was lucky in this one, and the photographs I just added in after the ones I had. Okay. Next, please. So this is the most recent Koseki I got this year from a cousin I never met, but we were in Japan, and he gave me a photocopy, but you can see how grainy, and it wasn't very clear, but I had it professionally translated in Calgary by a certified translator, and he translated it in a very detailed format, and just the names and that, you know, were much more clear to me than even the flow chart, I thought. Let's see. Okay, next, please. So these two slides are just samples of what you could find by checking the data listing that's on the NAJC website for this program. So there's places you can go that you can find information for free. So you could probably find a census, a manifest, vital statistics, border crossing, and even go to the cemetery and they'll pull out the documents and give you the coordinates of where your grandparents might or parents might be buried. And the best source is sometimes the most important original documents are close to home. So usually it's the oldest family member would have these documents and photographs, which you probably never knew about and they didn't even know what to do with them. So you might be lucky to find something original. And I think that was it for that slide too.
All right, so I will briefly go over what we hope to provide with this program. So our program will consist of various online sessions that will highlight the navigation of resources for one of the two fields of Japanese Canadian research. So a preview of the specific sessions that we're hoping to host will include genealogy research, which would involve navigation of specific records involved in the immigration of your Japanese ancestors from Japan, oral and video histories of Japanese Canadian survivors of internment, preserving artifacts and photograph records, accessing archives, which would be a description of how to access some of your public archival records at local libraries or university institutions pertaining to Japanese history. Obtaining Koseki, as we discussed, this would include how to obtain the Koseki and how to go about translating it as well. And lastly, an overview of books and publications by Japanese Canadian authors. So our sessions and informational presentations will be recorded and posted on the NAJC's website for free and easy access. For more information, you can visit the NAJC's website under Programs and click on Japanese Canadian Family History program. So everything what that we will be discussing, including the databases, will all be found on the website here. And so the overall goal of the program is to provide Japanese Canadians and anyone interested in this field of research the accessibility and guidance to resources pertaining to the history and ancestry of Japanese Canadians. And we ultimately hope that through this program, Japanese Canadians across Canada are able to explore and embrace their identity and heritage. So at this time, we would ask if anyone has any questions or any feedback to share.
If not, maybe I'll expand on a couple of areas, if that's all right. And just move to a different part. So just a couple points. Let's see. Okay, so this is the National Association of Japanese Canadians website, najc.ca. And
You did?
you see this under program and events, you can go to Japanese Canadian family history. That's the link there.
Huh?
In here is just the bunch of resources that we've been able to find. Some of them are done by other Japanese Canadian organizations. And what we've done is try to put them all into one area so you can just kind of click on it and kind of search for things. So if I click on this first link, this is the Landscapes of Injustice database. You can click on this link here to get to the archive. And if I just type my name in there, you'll come up with some links that might be found. And if I click on these, see, hang on a moment, maybe it's not working. Hang on a moment, let's see if there's something else on here. Okay, there's a search of the names that might come up. If I search for Benji, which is my grandfather, let's see if he's in here. It's there. So I have my family record here, listed under there. So these are some of the files, and if I look at that, there's information about the farm that they were on in Strawberry Hill in the area of Vancouver. They got uprooted and went over to Manitoba. And there's this big document here that had a lot of information, like the farm sketches and pictures and that kind of stuff. So that's an example of one such area that you can look at on this link. There's information about some of the links you can search with the Cultural Center, for example. Simon Fraser University has a big database here of records. I think that was done through the Vancouver organization. So again, if I search here, let me see if I think it's under my grandfather's or great-grandfather's name. This was one that, let's see if I have it here. There's this interview that, this is what really got me interested in doing this search was, this is an interview of my dad's uncle, his oldest uncle, which actually talked about the migration of the Nagasaka family coming to Canada. And it was done in the 80s, I believe, and it was digitized. And when I talked to his family, nobody ever knew that this interview existed. It goes on for about a couple hours, and it really filled in a lot of information that no one in our family really knew about. And yeah, I'm forever grateful for discovering something like that. But so that's a big digitized link of the oral histories there. But that's only an example of, there's several archives. The Galt Museum in Southern Alberta had one, and there's all these other ones that we kind of identified. So it's a bit of a discovery. You click on these links, you type your name in and see what you come up with. And you might be surprised at what is out there. And what I'm finding with my family is it's like a bunch of puzzle pieces that are trying to be put together. I think I'm missing a few pieces too, but slowly coming together in terms of a history of the family. And a lot of these researchers are dealing with the Canadian side of things. For those that are looking at ancestral records from Japan, those are a bit more difficult, obviously because of the need to connect to a village in Japan that your ancestors came from. And where that gets a little bit complicated is, well, first of all, trying to find your actual names of the relatives that came to Canada. I think a lot of people do have that information, but I had some people that have asked us to try to help them find out what that was. And the Landscapes of Injustice database that I showed you earlier did seem to have some of that. We found a lot of information in there that connected people to their ancestors and their names. So that's step one. Step two is then finding out where they came from in Japan. And if that information hasn't been passed down, and if you can't find that, it's a bit of a dead end. You really have a difficult time trying to research your roots if you don't know the village that they came from. And I know that's a bit of a catch-22 for a lot of people because that's what they're trying to find out. So there are references, though, that we've helped, that were put together. And the one most valuable one is this directory. If you can find the information about that. This was astounding to me that this kind of a document existed, but it was basically a directory of Japanese residing in Canada in 1929. And in this directory, which was done by this fellow here, and it was translated through the work of the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center a few years ago. And it's an enormous resource. There's like almost 800 pages in here of names. And the key thing here it has is that it has the name, the kanji spelling, which is sometimes very important, but it also cites village information, what the prefecture and those type of things. And this is really the missing link. So if you know the name of your family, so if I look here, let's see, that existed again in the 1920s. So that's the only downfall is that if you're past that, there's no directory like this. But if your family was in here, there's a good chance that they're listed in this directory. And so if I look at Nagasaka here, this is my on my grandmother's side, my great grandfather, effectively. And I can tell that his name was Kamakichi, and he originated, his spouse was Shizu, and they came from this area here in Japan, which is now part of Hekinan. And that alone gives me enough information to start doing a linkage to my family record. And so for those of you that are really curious about that, definitely reach out to us if you don't have access to this directory. It's not something we can necessarily share publicly yet. We're trying to deal with the copyright issues on that. But, and it's not an easy thing to necessarily look up because if you have a common name, you got a lot of hits. But to the extent that you can piece some of this stuff together from the landscapes database and find names, and then use this to find the connection to the village, there's your starting point. Now, connecting the village to what that village is in Japan now is another issue because of all the amalgamations that occurred and a lot of the villages disappeared. But there is another linkage to a different site. I don't think we'll get into that today, but that can actually tell you what your old village name has now become. And it will actually direct you to the address that you need to send away for your information. So like that's a whole huge big topic. And if you're really interested in that, I can probably point you out to, well, we'll probably try to do another session on this specifically, but there's an expert in the States called Martinus Wolf who created a Japanese family history Facebook page, and he's really helping a lot of people find their records. And I'll kind of share that information right now. See if I can go on that one. So this is his site, and it's a kind of a private site, but it definitely is growing. And here you can find basically people that are finding their villages, sending away for their kosekis, and some people have actually posted what they've been able to get back. And by doing this, they have been able to identify where their family birthplace was, and some of them have actually reached out to relatives in this manner. So it's quite an incredible area, and it's not as difficult as I think most people think it might be, provided you have this information. So that's basically a little bit more of a deeper dive into the Koseki part. Let me just see. Anyone have any specific? I think there's some questions in the chat actually. Let's have a look there. Okay. So many people have boxes of unidentified photos of ancestors. What do we recommend doing with those? I do know that the National Nikkei Museum has been looking for a lot of, or getting a lot of collections in terms of photos and stuff, especially from the olden days. And I'm not sure exactly how they're cataloging that or digitizing them or anything like that, but I know that I've been asked for, like my family has about 300 photos of both before the war and after the war, the sugar beet farms and that kind of stuff. So, you know, they're definitely valued treasures. And what we're hoping to do is at some point with our own Facebook group is hopefully people can share some of the photos they have and use that as a way to see if anyone else can recognize people in the photos. I was lucky in most of the photos that I had. My dad's uncle wrote names on the back and places and that kind of stuff. And surprisingly, I encountered some people with those names, and it turned out to be their relatives, even though they're living scattered across the country. So it's amazing what some of the stuff is, and they're pretty valuable. But the National Nikkei Museum, possibly the Japanese Cultural Center as well, in Toronto might be quite interested in those type of things. Hey, Emily?
Just to add on as well, the UBC Rare Books and Special Collections also has their Japanese Canadian photograph collection that has a wide variety of different information and photos of Japanese Canadians over the past 80 years. So if you're looking to donate, there's a way to get connected with them as well. And I've also included that resource under our under the Japanese Canadian Family History webpage.
Koseki research is obviously, it seems to be daunting, but if you go to this family history site and connect with Murray, Marty, he's quite knowledgeable. He's got an interesting story. He's not Japanese himself actually, but his wife is Japanese, and he had spent some time in Japan though, and he's bilingual. He knows Japanese inside out, and he also knows the old Japanese, and he also has a lot of knowledge of these Koseki things. So, and he does this work voluntarily, like he doesn't ask for payment or anything. And so, if you go to this site and join up to that, you'll see there's a lot of people that have actually done this kind of work and have found information about their relatives. So that's definitely one area to go to. Let's see on our side here. And then if you're not a member, if you have Facebook, and we also have a Canadian version of this, which is quite limited, but we do have a lot of people that have joined that. And what we hope to do is make this a little bit more interactive. So we do post information about sessions that we're doing, and some people post stories and things like that. And if you go to this site, there is a section here under files, which has links. This is an interesting area, actually. So there's a number of books that were created after 1988 that talks about history in different areas, and they're located in the Calgary Library. But what our staff has done is kind of gone through and actually scanned, not the entire document, but the covers as well as some of the indexes or the where you might find names and things like that. So if you don't have some of these documents, like this who was who one, that's dealing with people that were in the Surrey area or Delta area. Strawberry Hills, where my family came from, and that's a really comprehensive write-up of families that were in that area. And so if you know your family was in that area, you click on this link, you'll open up a PDF document and you can search the index and see if you can find your name. If your name is in there, then there's likely a story about your family with some pictures. And if you don't have access to that, I'm sure we can provide that to you. But there's a number of documents or publications that have been issued. This is just a handful of those. But these ones, in respect to Valentine's Day, deal with Japanese Canadians that served in the war. And then, there's some that can't read Japanese. I don't know what that one is, but yeah, again, it's something that you can search through and see if it can help you find some stuff. And some of these books are already out of print too, so that's why these ones are extremely valuable. All right, let me just stop sharing that. Okay. Do you have any other slides there, Emily? Is that it?
Oh, yes. So as we discussed, we have our Facebook page. This is where we will be posting most of our updates for the program. And we encourage everybody to get involved by sharing their stories and sharing the research they've collected. So for example, you could add your family photos, and like we've discussed, maybe some people will know each other. So we encourage you to join if you do have Facebook. And we also will appreciate if you could fill out a Google form provided by the QR code here. just to let us know what type of sessions you would be most interested in seeing first. So maybe you would like to see the Koseki research or how to navigate landscapes of injustices databases. So letting us know that would be great. And I think that's it for our slides. There is one more question in the chat regarding translation services for Koseki. Maybe Pat, you'd like to address that?
Yes, I have a contact in Calgary who does Koseki translation. If anyone wants his information, they can contact us, and I can pass it along. He was really detailed with the one I gave him. So.
And just a word of warning, the handwritten Kosekis, especially those ones are gone from a long time ago. And from what I understand from some of the Japanese translators, they're very hard to read for some of
Yeah.
them. So there's some
Yeah.
people that kind of have some knowledge about translating those documents. And you can't just run a Google Translate on some of those things.
No, that doesn't work. Yeah, I guess he mentioned it was like classic Japanese style. And also I found out when daughters get married, they move on to the husband's Koseki, so they're taken off. So I noticed that. And in our case, 3 of my grandparents divorced before they came to Canada, but I'm just guessing their wives probably didn't want to come. So they got new spouses and came to Canada. And some of them also took their, they would adopt a son from their other sibling if they had no children and things like that. Or if there was no males, just daughters, the husband would take the boy's maiden name and things like that. So it gets very confusing.
Yeah. I did take a course from Martinez last year, and he had this little diagram, or at least picture. I think one was kind of like a straight, like well-organized family kind of tree symbolizing a well-structured family organizational chart. But then he put another picture of this tree that's all twisted and, we're confusing and all that. And he says that this is the reality of the Japanese Koseki research, is that you'll find marriages, divorces, multiple marriages, marriages to cousins, people that have married into a family and taken on names and those type of things. So it's not as straightforward as you might expect. And he did issue a word of caution, like when you're trying to reach out to relatives like that were long lost, some of them may not want to necessarily have this information divulged. I found even with my own relatives and trying to build my own family tree that there was a lot of sensitivity around names and birth dates, not just for privacy, but a lot of them said, like, why do you want to get this information? Like, you have your own Koseki, like you already know everything on there. Well, the Kosekis only go back to the Meiji era, I guess, which is kind of the 1800s. And so, you're not expecting necessarily a long lineage of information. On my mom's side, I was able to build a little bit of a bigger tree through the church, but even the churches are getting a little bit more restrictive about handing out information. But on my mom's side, I think we can go back to the 1700s at least, and we see one person that like on top of the other in terms of who the mother and father was. So, it's not, you don't know what you'll find, though, obviously, when you go through this research. And, some of the families that found long lost relatives, it was an amazing connection for them. And, a lot of times the people in Japan were wondering, well, these people went off to Canada and we've never heard from them since. So you never know. We'd like to open up the floor to anyone else that might have any stories to share, or if they want to have any specific questions at all. Again, we're looking for guidance about where to proceed with this in terms of a program. And again, like we're just the kind of like the pulling this all together. There's obviously other organizations that have deep knowledge in this area, and we're hoping to connect with them and have them do presentations for us in the future. But if there's something that we can help you out with, or if you want me to see if your family is in this directory, well, let's have a chat about that if anyone wants to talk about that. The floor is open. Anyone want to share why you came to the session? Like what you have any specific questions at all?
Hi, Kevin and Emily. This is Kathy Turnbull. I'm registered for this because I got a grant and I'm working on my family history for my father. And I already have the Kosekis, and he actually, before he passed away, he translated them all for us. So I'm very lucky that I have the original copies, and now I'm the only one in my family left. And I want to know if there is some place that these original copies can be donated to, so they're kept. Like, is the Nikkei National Museum and Archives, are they taking those kinds of things, or is because my family was in southern Alberta, is it something like the Galt Museum would be taking? Like, I would keep my own digitized copy, but the originals are very fragile at this point.
Yeah.
So they are precious, but I don't know. I actually was at a session yesterday. Linda Harms Okazaki from down in the States, in conjunction or in collaboration with Densho, she also is doing a session, and I'd asked her the same question. And of course, she's from the US, so she wouldn't be able to help me with that. But is there some place in Canada that would take those plus other artifacts?
Well, I think the place to start would probably be the National Nikkei Museum in Vancouver and Archives. They obviously dealing with a lot of that stuff day to day. I don't know what their policy is on collecting things, but they've been looking for information and photographs and stuff. So that might be a good place to start. The Galt Museum also has a pretty extensive collection of the Japanese Canadian history from southern Alberta. So, like, I guess that could be a secondary source. I don't really know the answer to that one per se, but I'm sure that somebody would really want to see that information anyways.
Also, just going off of what Kevin said, I am based in Ontario, so I only know about the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center. But if it's worth asking your local, like the Nikkei National Museum, if that's a closer one for you, it's worth trying to reach out, because a lot of these places are taking artifacts, especially just to kind of show other Japanese Canadians or have it in the records. So if you reach out maybe via the website, that might help.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share anything or have any questions about anything?
I'd like to say something about landscapes of injustice. So if your family were interned, there's multiple files in landscapes of injustice probably for your family. And when I got my Koseki back, it had the name of my great-grandparents. And when I looked at the landscapes of injustice on the RCMP form, they actually filled out their names. So it actually confirms what I received from Japan. But a lot of times the people who filled out their forms, if their parents are deceased or they didn't put the prefecture where their family was from, they would just put deceased or dead or Japan, nothing else. So then you're stuck, I guess. But in my case, I was lucky they did write that down. So it was a good confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. For those of you that may not be familiar with that, let me just try to show you what that looks like. If I just, this is the record again for my great grandfather, and that's a pretty big file. But so if you haven't seen this, you may want to definitely search this because it's pretty comprehensive, and there's a lot of information. So my great grandfather had a chicken farm in Strawberry Hill, and a pretty large area. And he had uh, my grandmother as well as five brothers. My brother grandmother had five brothers, and so um, once this thing loads, you can kind of see all the information that is on there. I think if I recall, when I loaded this last time, there were pictures of the farm, I believe, and then sketches of the farm, description of some of the stuff that was on there, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of information. And one of the speakers that we want to get in the future would be people that are working on this project because they've done several presentations and pulled up files for people. And obviously they did the work to pull all this together, digitize it. So there's definitely a treasure trove of information there for people to see. And you can see how big this file is. I should have probably taken my grandfather's side. It probably wasn't as big, but hopefully this loads up shortly. Yeah, so then
Also in our landscapes file, sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just page through while you talk.
Also in our landscape. Also in our landscapes up in Justice file, we had photographs of the house and things like that they was auctioned off. And also if you see any community books, there's lots of, there's all those class pictures and things like that in there. And that Who's Who book, my grandma wasn't in the index, but she was in the Buddhist church group picture. So it's, you know, there's ways to find things sometimes by accident.
And if you want to see what that book looks like, I think we have a sample of that. So this is the Who's Who book, and this is my great grandfather and great grandmother. Yeah, there's a little story there and some pictures. So yeah, like the individual, the author of this book was originally from this area, and he had this quest to document the stories of families in that area, and it's a fairly comprehensive book. Again, it's out of print now. It's a quite a voluminous book, but it has a lot of pictures and it has school pictures and that kind of stuff. So again, if you know your family is from the Surrey or Delta area, then let me know and I can try to see if I can find your family's record in this book.
Hi, Kevin. My family, my mom's family is from the Strawberry Field area. So I'm wondering if their name is in that book. Did you want me to? It's Maeno, Maeno, and it's a very, I guess, uncommon name, they said. So there shouldn't be too many of them.
Okay, well, let's see what we can find here. So if I go to, so if I go back to this index, that's this Who is Who book, and you click on this link, it's going to open up as a PDF file, or you'll download the PDF file. So that's the scan image of the name. So I'm not sure if it's searchable. Let's see what comes up. So what was the last name again?
It's Maeno, M-A-E-N.
This one here, M-A-E-N-O.
Yeah, and that's it. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Kenichi. Okay. Oh, excellent.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you that one. So yes, so you don't have this book?
No, I don't.
Or do you have this book?
No, I don't have this book.
Okay. Well, if you send me your, if you reach out to me by email at ed@najc.ca, just I think I do have this book in my house actually. So when I go back to my house and kind of ask us there, I can look up this name and kind of digitize what's there. Is it all these names then, or? Yeah. Well, it must be because they're all on the same page. So.
Yeah, Kenjiro, Kishi, yeah, Shiki, Tome, yeah, that's all of them. Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah, so there's quite a few, quite a bit of information in there. So.
Oh, excellent! Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to find that there and see. Anyone else want?
Yeah. Kevin, it's Kathy again. Could you repeat the name of that book again, please? Who's Who of where?
Pioneer Japanese Families in Delta and Surrey.
Who was Who?
So yeah, this was I think
Yeah.
this book was $100 when it came out because not because he was making money out of this, but he made this out of um, special paper and stuff that it's going to be a long-lasting book. So yeah, it's a pretty valued treasure. And if you see any of these available anywhere, just get your hands on it because it's yeah, there's a lot of pages, a lot of pictures, and a lot of names on here. So um, yeah, if your family was from that area and you want me to look up and try to find what's in there for your family, please let me know. Okay.
Thank you.
Also, you should be able to find these books at your local JC library because everybody seemed to be buying everybody's books that came out at around that time. So you might find it there too, just to look at. It's available in the Calgary JCA library.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Lethbridge also did a pretty comprehensive book. I know Manitoba also did one. I'm sure there's others around. Those are the ones that I'm aware of, though. And yeah, it's essentially it's great because these capture stories from people that a lot of these people probably aren't alive anymore. So, but if they took the time to document the stories, then these would be really, really valuable, right? Anybody else? Let's see what else here. Oh, great. Thank you, Sachiko, for that. And again, like the work that is being done is like the National Nikkei Museum, the Landscapes, Past Wrongs, Future Choices, Japanese Canadian Cultural Center, are just to name a few. Like I know the local centers, like Lethbridge, for example, have done a lot of their own chronicling of information, and the Galt Museum has taken on a lot of that information. And what we found also is what Emily's found is basically a lot of people donated their personal papers and stuff to some of the universities, and they've digitized them. So there are these fonds and collections from several individuals that are now sitting in some of these museums that are or these institutions. And I'm not sure, a lot of them may not be accessible directly online, and it might be a process to do this, but that's definitely another avenue to look at. And yeah, it's quite fascinating. Another story, I think one of my dad's cousins, his wife was not Japanese, but she was doing a lot of family research and sent me this death certificate of someone that had the same last name, the Nagasaka last name, but I didn't recognize the first name. And on the death certificate, it was someone that was 17 years old that died from a gun blast. And we had no idea who this person was. But when I went to Japan and actually got the Koseki records, there was a record of this individual being the younger brother of my great grandfather going to Canada. But then after that, there was nothing. So we have no idea what the story is. Like, obviously, he was younger brother of my great grandfather, but no one in our family has any idea what happened. And that was it's a bit of a mystery there. But yeah, never know what you can find. Any other questions at all, or if people want to ask me, I can hang on for a bit, and I have this directory at my hand here. So if you want to try to see if your family name's in the 1927 directory, I can definitely hang on if you want to talk to me. Or send me an email again at ed@najc.ca. So ed@najc.ca. Ed being executive director, I guess, short from that. Yeah, I'll be happy to try to help out as much as we can. The other thing I should mention is a bit of a commercial plug, but we are, as the NAJC, planning Japan tour for Japanese Canadians next year. It's a tour that we will be working on developing, and we're targeting people that are Japanese Canadians that have never been to Japan, don't know the language, maybe not knowing the culture, but always wanted to visit. So our hope is to bring a group of people to Japan on this tour. We're planning one for May and one for October, and it'll do 4 stops: Tokyo, Kyoto, Nara, Hiroshima, and Osaka. And the ending in Osaka is going to coincide with the World Expo there. So we did a tour. Well, Pat and I were on this tour a long time ago when they had the expo in Aichiken. And we thought we might try to do that for next year. So there'll be information on our website about that. And, if you're interested, yeah, let us know. And what we're hoping to do is to have several Zoom sessions ahead of that to talk about the customs and maybe some language learnings and things to expect. So if you ever kind of too shy or afraid to kind of go to Japan, well, this is a good opportunity to go there. It'll be we'll have bilingual guides on there. Myself and my wife will be on both of these tours as well. And yeah, hopefully some people that may discover their roots and where their ancestors are, maybe can even drop by and see if they can visit their relatives. All right. Anything else? We got a few minutes left. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Pat?
I just thought of something. You can just Google, maybe if you know the island or the village where your relative came from, just check to see if they have a little museum, because that's how I found out about mine. So they just had a local museum and they're really eager to help, you know, look in their database to see if they had anything. And yeah, then I turned out that my grandmother was one of 12 and I didn't even know that. So you never know what you'll find.
There's a link to the survey again that's on there, and then I think most of the information will either show up on our website or on our Facebook page with the Japanese Canadian family history one. So if you're a Facebook user, try to join that one, and we'll post future sessions that we're planning. And again, if you need any help on trying to find anything, like I'm no expert on this, but I have delved a lot on my own family's research, so I can definitely pass that along. And if you need to help, if you want to see if your family's in that directory of 1927, then yeah, just shoot me a line and I'll look it up for you. All right. Well, thank you very much, Emily, for putting the majority of this together, and for Pat, always you storehouse of knowledge, and appreciate you sharing all this information. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for this inaugural session, and hopefully it's one of many that's coming up. We haven't had a schedule yet, but we'll put that onto the page, the NAJC website as they come up. And if you join the Facebook group, the Japanese Canadian Family History one, you have to kind of request to join, and then once we accept you, you'll then have a direct line to all our upcoming events. So hopefully, yeah, we'll see you on that one. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and for joining us today, and enjoy your evening. Thank you. Hopefully see you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Emily.